Hey, what's happening out there, YouTube family? This is Robert L. Jones Jr. coming at you again with some more Tribal Judah poetry. All right. First poem of the evening is entitled Black Moses. Watch me arrive as I steadily coast, drift, and glide within my watertight bulrushes of river floating stability, as it be carrying me upon a cool and rippling ride of Nile-style in transportation, leading me further on without question unto my most superific and anticipated destination, where the future pharaoh inheriting luxuries of privilege, favor, and royalty be awaiting my comely introduction as a beauty-fashioned man-child of ancient aquatic manifestation. Now watch me survive as I suddenly slip right on through the back door of my former glory and thereby discover the archaic cipher of my Egyptian-like swagger within that Sahara-barren anonymity of sandal-shod feet and toes, sojourn on with their desert heat-beaten journey through manifold arid crossroads and sun-burning valleys of introspecting decision and derision, which oftentimes have brought me down and low into the dark and tabernacle-hidden solitude of secretive wailings and lamentation bathing tears, which seem as if they could continue to trickle on for 40 years. But an unquenchable flame in that lonely tree standing before me, be Shekinah fire clarifying a curious mystery turned prophetic utterance that has become my heart and soul saving testimony of destiny raising sustenance, in which he be saying unto me that I must be leaving this holy grounded scenery and faithfully get ready and prepared to be a magnifical oracle of higher power unfolded signs, wonders, and miracles before the carefully observing assemblies of both my oppressed and enslaved sisters and brethren, and that no good enemy see the territory of Jannes, Jambres, and golden throne corrupting Ramses. No lie, watch me thrive, as I be mightily preparing to go with that revelator hustle and flow, a prophet reciting that liberty delivering motto, let my people go. Every one of them pain lashing taskmasters, and every one of those torture enforcing malefactors on a leather hypnotic binge will now begin to quiver, shiver, and cringe with some fear possessing bewilderment, as I be boldly approaching with that snake devouring authority and wooden staff brandish forth my Egypt land trespassing advent of a funky and super bad second coming, where my syllables, letters, words, and thus saith the Almighty, outcrying phrases of Lord willing substance, become the tenfold exploding plagues of judgment, raining mayhem and pestilence against them demonic legions and adversarial energies incarnates, and their death angel desolated firstborn. And finally, watch me shine as my emancipation packing comrades and I be readily dressed with their captivity, escaping success of Red Sea, stepping through the HOPE, opening passage of a JOY crusading exodus, where we will be singing and dancing and shouting and celebrating the swift and drowning oblivion of a hostile and villainous nation, who will never again assail their oppressive gale and enslaving hail of invading and degrading and shallow grave land our freedom begotten sovereignty away in dust to dust disgusted agony. And that promised land inhabiting jam session would be soundly fulfilled in your ears when you will watch us arrive, as we steadily walk strut and victory marching to the cane and ascertaining threshold of being all that we can be and everything that we will become within that Sinai gathering legacy of godly restored privilege, favor, and royalty. The second poem of the evening is entitled, And They Be Saying That Racism is Dead. With that inner resonating capability of some rationally upscale imponderability, would the psychocellular density of my smartly expanding mentality be knowingly exploring that sadly immutable and madly established reality that the nastily downgrading and stupidly exhibited guttural of despicable racism has even done its crazily loitering transgression of subtly creeping and secretly trespassing upon the supposedly enlightened and mindfully mature peaks and valleys of an ever millennial futurology, which should have gotten so historically equipped with the darkly abominable and hatefully dangerous lessons of notoriously deadly paradigms that be gravely entailing those wickedly crass and violently irascible happenings of intensely inflaming affronts and wretchedly bombastic nouns, adjectives, and verbalizing insults galore, being manically hurled like fiery boulders of gargantuan fury at a post-archebuline genealogy of an African diaspora of Nuba descendants and our globally sundry kindred of blackness, birthright, and privilege, and with all of them dastardly, tantric, and utterly asinine quotations of forcefully discriminating offense, would my ebony Asiatic peoples of Abyssinian descent be undeservingly catching that homegrown and domesticated hellfire of unanimously being cerebrally branded afresh with those hauntingly gruesome flashbacks of purely murderous atrocities and stone homicidal catastrophes, being habitually practiced without conscience during those utterly fatalistic death voyages of the infamous Middle Passage. And we shall never even become naively forgetful nor psychologically numb to those absolutely embarrassing programs of humanity scorn abashment, when Afro-Aboriginal embodiments of motherland beauty and Ethiopian handsomeness would hastily have their collective pride, dignity, and self-respect suddenly thrashed into broken pieces and to become so abusively emaciated, like a deeply perishing desert land that is so haggardly populated with a grossly desiccated heap of sorely arid and exceedingly dry skeletons in abundance. And our multitudinal progenitors of mightily regal and outstandingly paramount ancestry were all being so capitalistically displayed away and mercilessly advertised off as potentially purchased objects and economically exploited property for sale, as a motley macabre of redundantly long-winded auctioneers be wordily augmenting their many incendiary per diems of monetary anathema during the earliest recollections and those hurtfully primordial lang synes of the first Black Fridays of antebellum Ford times and paleo-colonial chronology. And there sure enough ain't no readily believable chance for Occidental Cushites and Americana Kemetans to suddenly become childishly ambastic from the indescribably ghastly centuries and those dreadfully appalling scenes of outrageously mean and ruinously savage-out slavery, which for literal hundreds of steer-tamed and blood-soiled years were copiously crammed to death with those painfully indelible tableaus of backbone-ripping whips, the agonizingly horrid apartheid of familial bonds becoming severely severed with irrecoverable results and consequences, the frigidly tight and unbreakable trappings of bitterly seasoned chains and angrily restraining fetters of menacing iron and steel, the seemingly endless hours and overwhelmingly tiring minutes and seconds of bone-crushing and soma-decrying labor, where horribly overworked souls of humanity were almost browbeaten down to the coldly gripping shield of an early grave. And in the completely unjust exchange of some unrighteously supplying pay dirt, my highly disenfranchised clans of Cyrene were only receiving the fiscally extended incomes of hotly pouring sweat, nerve-searing agony, and greatly sorrowful misery. So please don't get my rightly indignant cipher stranded out with speaking vehemently about the grievously thieving calamity of torrentially being robbed blind of our purely original namesakes, our perfectly indigenous languages, and the colossally authentic aesthetic of our exceptionally hip and comely existence, that to this here present day has been so enviously coveted, badly imitated, and mockingly parodied by those horrifically mimicked simulations of a soulfully feigned and a synthetically impersonating travesty. And now within this surely contemporaneous realm of prevailingly nouveau milestones and possibilities, it just seems so incredibly bewildering and so strictly preposterous for us thrivingly concurrent entities of color to be tortuously experiencing that achingly revisited obsolescence of assumingly extinct prejudice and factitiously expired out bigotry, which disbelievingly has resurrected themselves so loudly, belligerently from the anciently dug burial plots in those whitewashed sepulchres of Civil War and Reconstruction, sharecropping impoverishment, and the ever-segregating tyranny of Mr. Jim Crow and foolery. And exactly like the frightfully phantasmic sojourn of a grayish apparition or some ghostly boogeyman, do we get so immediately caught up in that psyche-alarming mess of stone fictitious anxiety and dismay, as we thereby be weakly carrying on that extremely superficial burden of quietly ignoring and docilely tolerating those massively insufferable attacks of speechifying perniciousness that have been fearfully uttered and nervously spoken by a thoughtfully amiss and socially incorrect assemblage of some sinfully lyrical lynch mobs, with their conversely foul and vocally retarded nuisance of loose-fitting ignorance and futility, and with the erratically audacious nerve of unlawfully illicit fortitude, with these rudely biased and illogically corrupted scions of Satan, be doing everything within their morally crooked and ethically abashed abilities in fanatically planting their boisterously burning crosses along the cleanly trimmed and sweetly evergreen landscape of my proudly extemporary customs and excellence. But regardless of all those tautologically duntical notes and them idiotically backward talking dialects of colloquial barbarism, all of that grimly insatiable noise and the eminently vulgar pandemonium of filthily uproarious babble could never even begin to abruptly hinder nor successfully stifle the positively empowering appearance and the culturally well-groomed showiness of Mama Ebon's smooth and efficaciously sharp posterity. For we are sure enough the phenomenally overcoming prolongation and the ultimately ascending increase of fruitfully abounding commonalities, which continuously be victoriously multiplying ourselves and be progressively propelling on forward inside of our fervently straightened up and strengthened up communities of self-revolutionizing aptitude and dexterity. So we be invincibly energetic with a potently functional after effect of courageously conquering and gallantly vanquishing over the already defeated and inevitably condemned system of despicable racism, which one eventfully determined son of cockcrow uncertainty will finally succumb unto that distressfully eliminating vicissitude of an eternally perishing termination, Lord willing. Thank you so much for listening to some of tonight's poetry. I hope you like what you heard. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll come at you again with some more poetry, some more Tribal Judah poetry. In the meantime, I bid you shalom.